Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news where we have a report out of Bloomberg News that has set the kind of coaster world on fire here a little bit, and the GP world on fire, where Bloomberg was reporting that before the Netflix deal even went through, supposedly, we don't know yet, that WB was like shopping around the idea of making a DC theme park edition to some places people naturally assumed Universal because of them maybe wanting to get rid of Marvel Superhero Island or Toon Lagoon. But to me, I was scratching my head as I was reading this story because I'm pretty sure another company already has the license to DC stuff for theme parks, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the one, but in the US, Six Flags is famously our home for DC heroes and villains theme parks.
Yeah, right. So like Six Flags has always had this. They've always had the whole WB license. We know that they hold it for the next 25 years because when we were doing the whole Snoopy show, it was like
Right.
2056, something like that.
Something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
we knew it was well into the future. I know it was after I was going to retire,
Yeah.
whenever it was.
Right. Right. So like and honestly, the legacy Six Flags parks have really leaned into the DC universe stuff. We've seen additions left and right over the past few years. Six Flags Fiesta Texas just redid a whole bunch of their park to even lean into the DC universe even more down there, where that whole park's almost all DC. Six Flags Saudi Arabia, though, I don't believe has any DC though, right?
I'm not really sure, but
I'm
in
almost positive.
that might be a conflict because Warner Brothers Abu Dhabi has
Yeah,
Warner Brother licenses in the UAE. And they also use this internationally at Warner Brothers Movie World in Australia and Parque
yeah.
Warner Madrid. This isn't something that's new, like seeing it outside of Six Flags, but I feel like they were specifically talking about North America.
Yes, and to me, first let me say I don't believe any bit of this is true, or maybe WB was in the very early stages of figuring something out. But I don't believe that that license is just up for grabs. That you could just go into Orlando. Some people are saying, oh well, some states were excluded. This wasn't a Disney thing. Like there wouldn't be any like reason to make a deal like that, like Marvel had with Disney and all this because Universal already had it in Florida. So one, I don't believe anything to come of this because Cedar Fair to me would almost be silly to give up the license because number one, the astronomical cost it would take to retheme everything. Um,
Yeah,
and people are like, oh, well, it's just changing a ride sign. No, it's not just changing a ride sign. It goes way beyond that because every single Justice League would need to be changed. The dark rides, every single piece of signage inside the rides. Um, you could, in theory, keep the colors of everything, but then you have this giant hole in what you've built up over the years. And now, like, you look at some of these parks, you're gonna have to rename five, six rides. And we saw how well that worked when Paramount was bought out um, by Cedar Fair years and years ago. We got super generic names, and finally now they're finally getting back to changing some stuff at Kings Island, and some things are still flight decks all over the place. So you still see
yeah,
remnants of that all over. Um, and then you add on the whole merchandising aspect that how much money is Six Flags pulling in, selling T-shirts, selling stuffed animals, selling action figures, selling all this junk that theoretically you're not going to be selling. Like you go to a Legacy Cedar Fair park, they have Snoopy stuff all over the place, but they have like maybe some random toys, but nothing like huge. So
yeah.
I, I
In a lot of the Six Flags gift shops, it's all DC.
it's all DC and all the shirts are DC and all the sweatshirts and all the mugs. So this goes way beyond just changing a ride name. This goes into the identity of the chain. that
Yeah.
you've actively changed huge sections of the park to match this theme and a loose theme. So I just don't see it happening at all. I don't see Cedar Fair giving up the license unless whoever takes over WB is going to come in with a big offer, and that's how they're going to pay down this debt. Like if they can get bought out of the contract, um, and make some big time cash on this item. Like I don't think if you're throwing around numbers of selling the company for 81 billion, what's an extra 100 million to get the license to the theme parks, right?
I don't know. I mean, like we see like, just like in the entertainment field, like we see artists like that have really big catalogs selling their catalogs for an astronomical amount of money,
Yes.
but there's a lot of value there. I mean, like when people go to different theme parks, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about like Legos or Snoopy or DC, or all of the Disney properties, we're used to seeing this theming, this familiarity when we show up. If everything was generic, I think there'd be a lot less enthusiasm for people who weren't fans of the theme park itself. Like even Kennywood bringing in like uh, Steelers
Yeah.
theming just for like their local fan base. That's not just drawing Kennywood fans, that's drawing Pittsburgh people because of where
Yes.
they are. And I
It-
think that that kind of stuff it adds a layer of value beyond what like you and I might appreciate. You might be like, well, the best thing about Cedar Point is Maverick and Steel Vengeance and the lore that they've created. But somebody who doesn't know that and isn't familiar and is visiting for the first time, they look at Millennium Forest. It would be so much easier if they could just go
yeah.
Superman, because
Right.
then they're already all in.
And they do that in New England now. So there you
Yeah.
go. The only caveat to this would be is if there's some weird because we've seen this with Disney, that there's some weird asterisk that Cedar Fair only has the ability to license the comic book characters and not so much the movie characters. So we see that with Disney where they have access to anything created after a certain date. We've also seen with California Disney that they're only really using movie characters. They're not using comic book stuff. And if you look at what Six Flags has
Right.
done over the past few years, all their stuff is comic book based. It's never movie based anymore. When Batman first opened at Great America, it was movie based. It was you had the 89 Batmobile out in front. You walked up through, the queue line that was very reminiscent of the movies. Yeah, the black bat suit is still in the ride queue, or the ride station, but they've gotten rid of the original 89 Batmobiles at a lot of the parks. They've added more comic book based ones. So I feel like maybe they've moved away from movie licensing and they've been told you can't do the movies. Um, and even with the Dark Knight coaster, they kind of got rid of all the pre-shows. I don't even know if does anyone I couldn't tell you. I haven't been in the Dark Knight coaster in forever, so I don't even know if they're still doing stuff from Dark Knight in there. I know that the props are still on the ride, but is there anything in the actual queue line that's movie based? And I feel that maybe they've been told that they don't have the rights to the movies anymore, or they never did and they just assume that they did. So that's the only caveat that I could see, is that maybe there's some loophole there that a Universal, so let's say Universal wanted to get the licensing, they could do the movies and they could do the Batman, they could do Superman, and but have it be based on the movies themselves. That's a possibility, but I don't know if that's something I would want to go all in on if I was Universal, knowing that there's a whole bunch of little parks all over the country that are still going to have DC stuff.
Yeah, now that you said that, even the Battle for Metropolis stuff was more like um, cartoon based. It
Oh yeah.
wasn't really like reminiscent of the live action stuff.
No, it
Uh,
was all cartoon based and they even had issues with there's like weird naming conventions that they have to use.
yeah,
So
yeah, they have
like
to have bad grammar to avoid
exactly, because they can't use
lessons.
like the in front of things, so it has to be like Riddler this, and they can't add apostrophe s, so it has to just be Riddler because then it's very specific on how they can license stuff. So maybe Warner Brothers cracked down on what they were trying to do, and maybe there's a loophole in there. But
Possibly.
that possibly, and like I said, I because like the problem with that is then you have like brand confusion that if I'm going to Universal and people are seeing DC stuff and they're like, oh, well, I'll just go to Great America and I'm going to see DC stuff there. There's brand confusion, and I just feel like does Universal want to be locked in with Six Flags and we all have DC? Like I don't think you would want that.
I don't know. I mean, I already see it in like I don't want to call anybody out, but there are like small theme park operators out there that are using pretty unsanctioned looking IP. I mean, I've seen Masked Crime Fighter that looks like a bat.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen a
yeah,
man with an S on his shirt that may or
yeah,
may not be Superman.
yeah,
Ice Princess, Hawaiian
yeah.
Princess. Like they kind of lean into it, but they lean away from it at the same time. So I think everybody like acknowledges like having this kind of stuff is valuable and does bring people in and make them feel like familiar with it before they even set foot on property. Um,
It's interesting that you say that
yeah.
because it's interesting that you say that everyone feels that this is valuable, except for when that merger went through of Six Flags and Cedar Fair. I cannot tell you the number of people who lined up to tell me how much they would hate for DC stuff to be integrated into the Cedar Fair parks. Now, granted, I'm not saying I want to sit here and have new rides be renamed into superheroes. I don't want Millennium Force to turn into Superman. I'm not calling for that. But if you were to tell me that Cedar Point was going to put a brand new midway out on Millennium Island where the dinosaurs were, where Shoot the Rapid Splashdown was, when Forbidden Frontier was, if you were going to put a brand new midway out there and have a whole bunch of have a flat ride package, have a whole bunch of kids rides, maybe have a coaster, and have it be DC themed, what's
Could be
the
cool.
problem?
Yeah, it'd be
Cool,
cool.
right? Awesome. Because I look on Twitter and I see all these people salivating over the idea of DC going to Universal. And yes, Universal does things bigger, they have a bigger budget for everything, but yet you don't want this stuff in the parks that you have. I don't, there's like a disconnect there that people
Yeah,
don't want their, sacred park touched by DC for some reason.
I don't
Where I'm
know.
like, cool, like my son would love to go on a Batman dark ride at Cedar Point. Like would absolutely love that. If you could do an 89 Batman, that'd be amazing, but whatever. You could sell millions of tickets with that. But
Yeah, but I mean, look at the way Universal has locked up the Marvel stuff in Florida, like in an odd way, where they're literally remaking their old stuff just to keep it fresh.
yeah.
Like they obviously see a value in keeping it and having it be their thing. Imagine if at Islands of Adventure they could have a Marvel and a DC area,
Oh my
like,
God.
and they had all the comic books. Like, not only would Disney be stuck on the outside looking in, even though they own the rights to it, uh, you know, like Six Flags could even be a partial winner because like people in the Atlanta area are going to be like, yeah, yeah, like Universal, they got comic books, and hey, well,
Uh-huh.
we got comic books here too. Like
Right?
it's all of a sudden it becomes like part of the same thing.
Like that would be crazy if you had Marvel and DC in the same exact park. You might the problem is you might start a few battles in there of people that are the diehards one side or the other. I don't know. It's a but it's funny that you say that because there are heavy rumors that Toon Lagoon is on its way out within the next 3 to 5 years. So you're opening up an entire tract of land back there that is right next to Superhero Island that you could just naturally expand if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Um,
But
it's just
you're also talking about like theme park fans and like enthusiasts. Like when I talk to like my coworkers, because
yeah,
they plan trips down to Florida, so like Universal comes up, they know I'm a nerd, so they come and talk to me about it.
uh-huh,
Uh, they're getting excited about going to Epic Universe. Obviously, the star attraction there is Stardust Racers. It's got no IP.
no
It's
IP.
on zero of their radars. They're
Yeah,
just talking about Nintendo and they're talking about Harry Potter. And that's it. They're talking about like these properties because they already have a connection to them.
and that's been the selling point of Universal since the very beginning. That the whole tagline was "Ride the movies,"
Right?
and and that they have funneled themselves onto IPs. They pigeonholed themselves into this, whereas Disney has kind of like played the middle ground where they started with their original stuff and then they slowly added IPs to the chagrin of many people. When you're changing, Splash Mountain to which was an IP, which
Yeah.
to Princess and the Frog, all of a sudden, people lose their minds. So, but Universal never had that problem. That Universal was always IP. The issue is trying to get rid of older IPs and funnel in new ones. And to me, it seems like Islands Adventure has been the most stagnant of the park. Like Harry Potter was added, and then you added Velocicoaster, but it's been very stagnant with like Dr. Seuss seems really dated to me. Toon Lagoon is super dated. You just see people walk right through that section, go on the water rides. And even the Marvel section is a very 90s Marvel section, obviously. It's a 90s, early 2000s version of what Marvel was seen as. So it's kind of like like Islands Adventure is doing fine. I still love the park, but it does feel like it's in like that time capsule of it's not going anywhere. Like it's not moving. Like,
Well, I mean, they are used to working with Warner Brothers already. Like Warner Brothers distributes Harry Potter.
yeah.
Um, a lot of the monsters and stuff, I believe, are Warner Brothers
Well,
owned.
most of the monsters are Universals. Some of them, some of the stuff they do for Horror Nights is WB occasionally.
Mhm. But
Occasionally.
there's other like really valuable Warner Brother franchises. Like they own the rights at Game of Thrones, The
Yeah.
Matrix, Lord of the Rings, Dune. Friends might be interesting. I mean, like they kind of had like a little resurgence recently. And even The Sopranos, like that might be especially for like a Universal where you can get into like making shows and
Yeah.
having dark ride experiences. Like those all could really lend themselves to it.
And like I know Universal made a play, Comcast made a play for WB. It might have just been too rich for their blood. I thought they were going to try a little bit harder because of how much reliance they do have on Harry Potter, and now a new license holder is going to hold that, and who knows where that's going to go. And Universal has kind of like staked their whole claim on Harry Potter, which was I'm like, that's a ballsy move to begin with, but but it's an interesting move. And now if Paramount was to get it, we know like I feel like Paramount is more open to working, and who knows what Netflix would do. No one really knows where
No.
their head's at in the game. Um,
But they bring their own properties in too that would all be under the same umbrella then as well.
exactly, and I feel like DC, like you have like well-known characters, but at the end of the day, I personally put very little stock into this rumor. I think this was just people talking in a back room about possibilities of trying to do something, trying to make money off of something, and really that was the extent to it. So somebody told Bloomberg, Bloomberg decided to run with the story, and then everyone and their uncle decided to try and pick up the story as clickbait, which it worked because
Yeah.
my feed was filled with this nonsense, and people were like, oh, oh, we could have a Batmobile dark ride and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, like, but I'm like, maybe someone in Cedar Fair should be reading this. Six Flags should be reading this stuff because like people want it, and they had some good ideas of how to integrate it and how to make it. Like, I know Six Flags is a regional park, but if you could take some of the flagship parks, like a Great Adventure, and maybe invest a little bit more money into something bigger to make it more impressive. I think that's a park that doesn't have an identity right now. I think you would agree maybe. It's really
Yeah, I
missing
mean,
something,
I
like
I hope
400
they're
feet
in
tall
a
something.
I hope they're in like a 5 year churn now to get a big refresh because it feels like they just cleared the slate. Yeah.
So it's like you could take a park like that and make that into like spend some money there and maybe spend close to, well, I know they don't have it, but if you could find a way to maybe invest and spend something like Universal does on maybe one or two rides and maybe grow it over time. I just think there's something there that if so many people want it and Six Flags already has it, it's just trying to find a way to capitalize on it. And the fact that we only had maybe a few forays into a Arkham Asylum haunted house. Like
Yeah.
this prints its own money, the Arkham Asylum haunted house. But I think we saw it in Mexico maybe once, and they might have tried it out. But it, I know when I went out to California, they did some Suicide Squad stuff there. It's just like there's just so many opportunities, and I think people look at it and they're frustrated because it's just so far it's just been naming rides after superheroes and not giving people that immersive experience that they want.
Yeah, I mean, I do know that the PR person for our region was talking about doing more theatrical things, more shows, which
Yes.
is, it's not as cool as a roller coaster, but like it also gives like character and flavor to an area and it really anchors it too. Like
Well,
some
I
of
saw
those,
Magic Mountain was doing a whole thing with a whole bunch of the characters. I saw it on some, Instagram Reels or whatever, and it looked super cool. Like they didn't really have a stage; they were just battling in front of one of the big set pieces in the park, and it looked super awesome what they were doing. And I'm like, they had a crowd, kids loved it. You sell some action figures after, everyone's happy. Like,
yeah,
um,
a lot of parks do that where they just kind of march out some things and it just kind of happens and then it disappears. It's like a little like flash mob or a little
yeah,
pop-up show. And then
exactly. And
there's like
like
the big theaters that they already own that they could build larger, stunt shows in.
and many of those theaters had Batman stunt shows back in the
Yeah,
day. Like
yeah,
this is not out of the realm of possibility because they like a lot of them had torn down those theaters. I know Great America has. They put Battle for Metropolis there, but they've had Batman stunt shows. I know Great Adventure still has theirs
yeah. We still
because
have ours, but the stunt show's not there. They're
yeah,
actually talking about putting wrestling in there right
they
now.
did. I saw the one guy is there. He's running a wrestling show out of there.
Yeah,
So he used to work for WWE, and now he's running a wrestling show out of Great Adventure. I'm like, this is. I'm like, if I was in the area, I'd definitely go to that. That's super awesome because he's bringing in some names too. So,
okay.
yeah. But so there you go. So I'm just like, it's just confusing to me because like one, it just seems like a clickbait story, but two, it also I think reveals more like desire for this stuff that I feel Six Flags should be tapping into if they really needed to and they really could. So, any final thoughts?
I mean, it would be cool if they took the good aspects of this and brought it over to the parks that really didn't have like identifiable IPs, especially for like teens
Yeah.
and adults, because like maybe like the people that are getting excited about Harry Potter and Nintendo, and get excited about DC and Marvel, we're not like necessarily the consumers that they want, but we're the ones with the wallets that are bringing our kids.
Yes. Yes.
So like it kind of does make sense to put things out there that we want to show our kids.
Yeah. A Batman Dark Ride at Cedar Point. Let's book it. Let's book it now.
Ah,
Book it now. So, um, as always, I am Andrew Barchak from Chicago, Illinois.
Jeff Goodman on Long Island, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
Good night.